This is Heal Your Mind, Heal Your Body with Dr. Schuyler. Discover how your thoughts manifest disease and what you can do about it. Here's your host, Dr. Schuyler.
Welcome back, beautiful souls. So last week we had Dr. Safter on, a pediatric GI physician, and we were discussing the science behind disorders of the brain-gut interaction. Well, today I actually have a patient of mine, and she's going to help bridge the gap between the science of brain-gut disorders and what it's like being a human living with one. Lilly, welcome. Thank you so much for doing this.
Hi, it's so nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you having the courage, man. Thank you so much. So I'll just kind of get into it. So just a little backstory. I've been seeing Lilly for about a year now, and she's a 20-year-old female. So Lilly, do you want to tell me a little bit about, if you want to back into it, what's your diagnosis, and can you describe for the audience what this rare condition is like?
Yeah, so a couple years ago, maybe like a year and a half, 2 years, I'm not really sure, I was diagnosed with CVS, which is called Cyclical Vomiting Syndrome. Basically, it entails a lot of nausea, vomiting, tummy aches, abdominal pain, and there's no real physiological reason behind it. Besides, I had some inflammation from all of the vomiting, but there was nothing. I was tested for every disease for gastro stuff, and it all came back negative. So it was just the fact that I was throwing up so much.
So how long would your cycles last for?
They lasted anywhere between 1 to 2 days up to, I would say my longest episode spanned probably over a week. And with the longer ones, they are a little bit different. There's comes more in waves. Sometimes of the day I'd be feeling okay, and some days I'd be times of the day I'd be throwing up. And so they can range from just one night to over a week.
So I just want to paint a picture for the audience. This is a scholarship college student. She did very successful in high school. She's just an absolute doll to work with. And this is a child who is very active, very productive, very much what we call an overachiever. So Lilly, tell me a little bit about what were some of the treatments that you tried, the hospital stays or the trips to the ER. Tell me a little bit about your journey, what it was like.
Yeah, so I was a kid who always kind of had some tummy problems. I was always complaining oh, my stomach hurts, or I was having some kind of GI issue all throughout my childhood, but never really that severe. They take me to the pediatric guy. They're like, oh, she needs probiotics. Oh, she is constipated or something like that. But it wasn't until I moved out of my childhood home and into the dorms at college that I really started getting sick, and I started just throwing up. I was constantly nauseous, and it just started getting really bad. I had to have my roommates take me to the emergency room on multiple occasions. And then it just kind of spiraled from there. It started to become where every other week I would be having an episode. I would be struggling to eat in between these episodes. And all along this, I was going through some mental health treatment, because I had been in therapy for a long time, through my childhood years, and I had stopped. And then after I started getting sick, one of my doctors suggested going into therapy.
So guys, what I want to point out, what so many people have this, and I see this so often. Lilly does fit the prototype of a child who has these issues as she's growing up and then goes off to college, and they just really exacerbate. They begin to get so much worse. So, she fits a paradigm: 2 supportive parents, college student, scholarship award-winning student. But you can imagine just how debilitating her life was, trying to live as a freshman in college. So Lilly, you kind of described it, but get a little bit about how it just impacted your day-to-day, when I first met you, your fears and what your life was like when you were at your sickest points.
Yeah, I can definitely hone into a lot of academic fears during that time, because I was so sick. I was not going to class. I was missing tests. I was missing class. I was missing projects. And basically all I could do was just email my teachers and be hey, I'm in the hospital. I'm sick. I can't like I'm not in class right now. And, I ended up having to retake some classes. And, as a Bright Futures student, it's really stressful to like keep your GPA up, keep the number of credit hours up in order for you to keep that scholarship. So that was like an extremely stressful part of going through this illness, was worrying about if I was going to lose like basically my scholarship, my financial aid for college. Like there was a big part of time where I was looking like I was not going to get credit for my chemistry class because I did so poorly in it, because I had been sick all throughout that semester and challenging course, and I was really freaking out because I was like, I'm going to lose my scholarship over this. But it ended up being okay. I was able to retake the class. I go to UCF, so they have some grade forgiveness stuff that I was able to use, and that helped with like my GPA up, and I was able to take some extra classes and like fix kind of that. But that was a huge stressful moment for me because I really rely on that financial aid to attend the university I go to. So like being sick, and like it's a very helpless feeling because I couldn't help that I was being sick. And it was like making me freak out so much more that I didn't know why I was sick and like what was happening to my body. So that was just a very stressful time that, stress just made it worse. So it just like kept spiraling.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I was thinking too, Lily. It's you really hit on a point that I brought up in previous episodes, how much emotions and stress impact the brain gut disorders. And this is the precise, example what Dr. Softer was talking about, the brain gut disorder interaction. You're describing this intense amount of pressure to keep your grades up, to keep your scholarship, because now you got financial pressures. And that's it. That epitomizes exactly it. The stress that you are perceiving and that you're experiencing, and how your symptoms get worse. So you and I have talked about this a little bit. And as your symptoms were getting worse, what did you experience in the medical community? Did you experience any misunderstandings or perhaps any invalidation?
Yes, this is definitely something that I want to talk about, because I feel like people in the cyclical vomiting community have experienced this a lot when they're trying to get help, because a lot of the times when you're just vomiting, you can't keep down fluids. You're very dehydrated, so you have to go to the ER, get those IV fluids. And, they're asking you like questions about why you're there and stuff. And I just faced a lot of, I guess you could say it like discrimination kind of, because as a medical cannabis user, they would immediately see that, oh, this person is a cannabis user, this person is having abdominal pain and is vomiting. So they would immediately tell me, oh, you have cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome, which is something that is very real and that you can get. It's mostly from smoking concentrate. But basically, it's kind of very similar to cyclical vomiting, like cycles of nausea, vomiting, and like the things that make you feel better, like taking like super hot showers, which I recommend taking colder showers now that I know more, but I used to take those like scalding hot showers. That's something that people with that cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome would also do, and that would make them feel better. So a lot of times they would get confused, and I already knew that I had CVS, and I would try to tell them that, but they didn't really have any documentation of that. So they would try to be diagnosing me, but really all I needed was just those fluids, those like stronger anti-nausea meds, and just to kind of like sit there and take my fluids and then take my medicine and then be on my way. I was facing a lot of judgment from the medical professionals, especially the doctors, because they would see, oh, because I got a bunch of papers back from multiple ER visits that the first three things that the doctor would see is abdominal pain, nausea, vomiting, marijuana smoker. So that immediately the doctor like already has their mind made up about me, when that is like not the case of who I am. And so I think that was like the biggest thing, is that they were kind of reluctant to treat me because they thought that, oh, this girl, she smokes so much that she'd given herself this disorder, which was simply not the case. So they had a little bit of prejudice against me. And I would say that like the time where this was like exhibited most clearly was when I had a nurse. I was like getting IV fluids, and I had a nurse come in, dump the rest of my IV bag in the sink, and tell me that I needed to leave. And after that, I got my gastroenterologist to write me like a letter that said she has cyclical vomiting. this is the things that work for her in the ER. This is what she needs. And now whenever I have an episode where I have to go to the ER, I just give them that, and that kind of shuts them up because it's from like another doctor, and they kind of do what the paper says. And it's been a lot better since then.
Yeah, so you just tied a lot of things in that I want to point out to the audience. Is first of all, it is evidence-based to use cannabis for nausea and abdominal pain. And I can say firsthand that Lilly does use it appropriately. So, but being labeled that way. So think about this way. We talked about chronic invalidation the past couple episodes. So if you're starting to paint the picture together, to put together the science that Dr. Safter provided, we talked about chronic invalidation and external stress and emotions. You're starting to see this picture being painted of chronic invalidation. She has a real disorder. It is a true, legitimate biopsychosocial disorder. Real symptoms, but then there's this chronic invalidation because she is using a medical cannabis as a form of helping her symptoms feel more mitigated. So all of this is compiling. And if you start thinking about this path she's on, she's in college, she's getting invalidated, all this stress, the symptoms start getting worse. So Lilly, you've mentioned your GI doc. What led her to the direction of mind body, and how did you feel being told you should go see your shrink?
Yeah, so I absolutely love my current gastroenterologist. My mom found her, so thank God for that. And I was seeing her for a few months. We were trying to figure out because I also got some IBS stuff going on. So we were trying to figure out medications that could make my stomach feel better and stuff like that. And I was explaining to her how it feels when I have an episode. And she was like, that sounds very almost psychosomatic. And so she recommended me a therapist that specializes in gastrointestinal psychosomatic illnesses, and that was you. And I just remember sitting in the doctor's office that day when she's like, this might seem like a strange recommendation, but at that point, I was so open ears to literally anything. And I had already kind of had an inkling and kind of knew that this was something that was also had a huge mental impact, side of it, because the big thing that I used to always say when I was in these episodes is that it feels like my body is having a panic attack without me, because mentally I would not be freaking out, except for, the fact that I was feeling sick and throwing up. But my body would have all of those physical symptoms of a panic attack, sweating, hyperventilating, racing heart. But it would just lead me to throwing up, because I'm a type of person where any tinge of anxiety, my tummy hurts. So I just knew that it kind of was tying into that. So when my gastroenterologist recommended a therapist that specializes in that kind of stuff, I was like, yes, please.
Lilly, that is the best line ever. My body's having a panic attack without me. Man, that is well said. That's really well said. And that leads me to explain, and Lilly already knows this, but your symptoms, and from my perspective, when the physicians don't have answers for disorders of brain-gut interaction or for autoimmune, and they are medically cleared with no known organic cause, and they get sent my way, the first question I ask is, where are your symptoms? Because where their symptoms are is where the solution lies. So in Lilly's case, when she came presented with these vomiting episodes and her body's having a panic attack without her, God, I love that line, Lilly. I'm probably going to use it. That told me she is in this fight and flight response. She's vacillating back and forth. So if we're faced with a tiger or a bear and we're immediately going to have a reaction, we're going to freeze in the space, or we're going to run, or we're going to fight back. So before we have a major stressor event, our body evacuates itself. It can defecate, urinate, it can vomit. It prepares itself to actually run or fight. So in Lilly's case, with her expelling, she's wanting to quickly run and get away, but also part of you, Lilly, part of the symptom is a little bit of repressed anger. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, definitely. I think a big reason that my symptoms escalated so heavily when I moved out of my childhood home is because I moved out of my childhood home. Growing up, there was some difficulties at home. My home life was a little bit hectic. There was some family issues going on. And, being in that environment, I was living there as a kid. Those are my parents. This is my house. You're in that environment. You can't leave. Your body knows that. So your body's just trying to get you through it. And then once I left, it was like, we're out of there. Let's purge all the bad stuff that you went through. And then I think that's what really sparked that intense illness, was just because, oh, you're out. My body was didn't know what to do.
Wow. And that's exactly it. And that even ties into when I talk about the attachment styles and how relevant attachment styles is. So as you're putting these puzzle pieces together and you're hearing her story and this human experience, you're hearing the external and internal stressors, you're hearing the chronic invalidation, and now the attachment style, and now the limbic response, this chronic. It's like her limbic system got stuck in this fight-flight response. It vacillated back and forth, and it's like being in second gear, if you old school with a car, with a manual. Lily might be too young for this one, but the manuals, it's like being stuck in second gear and you're trying to go 100 miles an hour. It's like you're just stuck there. And so your body became in limbo to this response as she's starting to process all these repressed emotions that she wasn't able to express during her childhood. And once she's out on her own, it's like, okay, yeah, I'm free. I can express this. And the body's like, whoa, wait, hold on. We've been holding this in for 18 years. This is a lot to come out. How does that sound to you, Lily? Sound about right?
Yeah, that sounds pretty much perfectly accurate to what I experienced.
All right. So what it is she was in a chronic state of limbic, and over a series of just getting to know this amazing, beautiful soul, we vibe so well. I started teaching her tools how to deactivate it. So Lily, if you can describe what it felt like when you felt the shift, when you actually felt the shift, when your limbic system deactivated and you started to feel better.
Yeah, I definitely had an oh my gosh, wow moment, because it was getting really hard for me. I was basically constantly sick. Even if I wasn't throwing up, I was nauseous, not feeling good, couldn't eat all the time. And once I started seeing you gave me a lot of tools that just kind of to ground yourself kind of in the moment, because it's really a runaway train when you start an episode, and it's really just about stopping that train. And there's a lot of things. One of my favorite things early on was the soft focus gaze technique. And that really helped me kind of ground myself and also take myself kind of out of the situation I was in. And that does make you, feel a little bit better. And because I definitely had moments where I would be breaking down, crying, because I was just basically in so much pain. And I would stop crying and be like, wow, I feel actually a little bit better after letting that emotion out. And it's just kind of things like that. Just the coping mechanisms that have been provided for me have just, I don't know, what to really say. It was just, I just remember the first time I tried the soft focus gaze and it worked. And I was like, I wasn't expecting that to work.
Oh, come on, Lily. It wasn't the ice cold showers I kept telling you to take? I'm kidding.
Yes, the ice cold showers, I have a lengthy relationship with. I think that they 100% help, and I still use them to this day. But I hate using them because it does hurt. That cold water does hurt.
So to back into what she's talking about, the soft focus gaze. So what I'm thinking of this perspective, and this is to help people out there who are going through something like this, when she is in a panic attack without her knowledge or consent, her brainwave activity is going through something called high beta. It's a very anxious state of brainwave activity, and then her breath rate is going to increase, which that's going to start activating the sympathetic nervous system and the fight or fight response. So in order to deactivate, to pop her into neutral, get her out of revving her engine in second gear, we have to deactivate the limbic system because no new healing can occur at the same place you're being harmed. So in order to stop the symptoms, we have to pop it in neutral. And how I like to do that is through something called soft focus gaze, which will probably be a later episode on how that's done. But it's basically downshifting your brain waves to either alpha or theta. And when you're in a theta or alpha brainwave state, that's meditation or hypnosis. And the soft focus gaze is literally can be 15 seconds to 3 minutes, or really just micro tiny doses, right, Lily?
Yeah, it's basically whatever you can manage because it's kind of like a hypnosis kind of meditation state a little bit. So it's like, don't feel bad if like you're doing it for 10 seconds and oh, you break away for a minute, you can always come back.
Girl, well done. You're just, again, kind of reading my mind. I was just getting ready to get into how did your thoughts play a role in that? Because at some point in time, you began to realize, wow, my thoughts are contributing to this. And that's a great example right there.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a big mantra person. And so especially when I'm not feeling good, a big mantra I like to do is I'm okay, I'm safe, I know what to do if things get bad, and like I can know how to take care of myself is a big thing. And I think that just like anything that kind of helps like ground you a little bit and just kind of like, because honestly, like when you're sick, you really want those kind of comforting words. Even if you're telling yourself those comforting words, it helps. Like, because a lot of times, even if I'm like rocking back and forth on the bathroom floor, like waiting to throw up, I'm like, it's okay, I got this, I can do this, I know what to do if it gets worse, and I know when I need to go in to get help.
You know what? And that's it exactly. So you mentioned safety, and that's one of the main things that I have to focus on when treating someone. Someone in the limbic response chronically thinks they're in a threat detection. They're in something called neuroception. They're always scanning the environment for danger. So imprinting into her mind and these mantras, I am safe. And also, when you have increased self-efficacy, you have decreased anxiety. So her mantra was, guys, it's brilliant because I am safe. Pretty much, I'll figure this out. I got this. It's building her internal sense of safety within, which is going to keep the thoughts, the ants, the automatic negative thoughts at bay. It's going to keep the limbic system deactivated, and it's going to keep increasing your self-efficacy. I'll figure this out. I'll get through this. I can do this. That's why I just really want to have Lilly on this podcast, because she really epitomizes all the things I've been trying to, talk about and explain, creating a sense of internal safety within. And I talk about this so much in the book. Children don't feel safe nowadays. And even just talking to this Bright Future Scholarship, Amazing Human, you're hearing on the outside, everything looks so fantastic. But internally, all these things are happening that us as parents, we just don't even know what's happening. Does that sound about right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I would also say to like parents, it's really hard because especially if your kid is in college, you don't know what's happening with them all the time. They could be sick, also not telling you. And like I just remember just every so often she calling my mom, be like, I'm sick again. And I just know that she felt like so helpless in that situation because she's like so far away from me. But I definitely think that like utilizing your support system is very helpful. Like I calling my mom, like just anything to give you that like support and just to help you feel like a little bit less alone, because it's really hard when you're sick and you're by yourself and you feel like so helpless.
Yeah. Lilly, if you could look back now and in your darkest hours on the bathroom floor, in your present state that you are now, what would you whisper into her ear?
This is gonna sound like so cliche, but like I would legitimately, I'd be like, you will not feel like this forever. Because genuinely, that was a huge fear of mine when I was going through this illness, because I was going on like over a year and I was like, this is never gonna get better. I am like gonna be sick for my whole life. It's gonna affect my whole life and like what I do from like here on out. I just would want to say it's not going to. You will find a way out of it. You can survive it. There is light at the end of the tunnel, because I know that's such a like cliche thing to say. It's like, oh, it'll get better, but it does. And I have the tools now that I need to survive any kind of bad episode with my illness.
So, what are your thoughts on the brain gut interaction as it relates to there actually is a mind body connection?
I think that the interaction between brain and gut is like the biggest relationship your body has. Because especially for me, I'm a very like, I feel my emotions physically. especially nervousness, excitement, and anxiety, I feel that in my gut. Like, I feel that in my chest. I'm definitely a type of person who physically feels emotions like that. And yeah, it's just the gut and your brain. Just for me, it's like it's just the biggest connection. Like, anything going wrong, stresses in your life is going to affect your gut health. Like, even just being stressed out, like maybe your like guts are going to be, acting up a little bit versus, when you're calm and relaxed, you're less likely to have like bubble guts and stuff like that.
Exactly. So, and that also taps into, we talked about the vagus nerve. The brain connects to the gut via the vagus nerve. So, Lilly, what are you up to now? I know you got an exciting summer because you've come from really dark depths of being really sick to, what's it been, 2 years? How long has it been?
It's been about, I think, because I was diagnosed in, I want to say 2021. It took me a while to reach you because I went through a couple gastroenterologists before my current one that I have recommended you. So I want to say I've been going through this illness since I want to say fall of 2021. And I think we met maybe I'm not 100% sure. I think it was probably 2022 or late 2021.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So tell them what you're up to now and the exciting summer you've got coming up, how well you're doing.
Yeah, so I am very excited for the summer because I will be going to Maine to participate in their conservation corps that they have there. So basically, conservation corps, I will be doing trail work, which is building and maintaining trails in Maine state parks. I'm very excited for that. This is something that I would have never dreamed of doing, despite my passion for conservation work. I'm an environmental studies major. Because it's very intense physically. You're basically camping all summer. But I'm just very excited that I'm very proud of myself that I not only felt that I was able to do this, that I just even thought about applying for it, but that I'm actually going to do it. And I actually will be doing something that I would only dream of years ago.
I've told you this so many times, and I am so proud of you as well. I am so proud of you. It's just to watch you just thrive and getting ready to have your dream summer. I think I cried when it happened. So well done. I'm very proud of you. Thank you so much for coming, Lilly. I'm very appreciative of your time and having the courage to share your story.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I love to, give my story of inspiration because it's rough out there and it does get better.
Oh, I think so many college students and parents and children will 100% relate to it. 100%.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So next week, we're going to have another one of my patients on. Her name is Morgan, and she actually has become a team member, a mind-body wellness coach that's working as part of my team, helping me out. So please go to drschuyler.net. And if you click the link, you can get some free downloads. I've got a new download on there called Healing Phases, and there'll be a weekly newsletter with the podcast link to it. I also have a book coming out. It's Empower Your Child to Heal. And as you can see, talking with Lilly, pretty much what Lilly's journey is and what the next patient I'll have on is going to be written in this book, talking about attachment style, stressors, chronic invalidation, all the things pretty much that Lilly was talking about is melted into this book. And there's a second book shortly to follow after that, and it's Empower Yourself to Heal. Feel free. I just finally got a social media person, so you can find me on Instagram under Dr. Schuyler _, TikTok, Dr. Schuyler _, and Facebook as well. I do have an online workshop coming up, and there's a retreat coming up in the fall. I appreciate y'all's time, and Lilly, thank you so much, and abundant blessings, beautiful souls. Thank you for your time. I feel so grateful you have listened to the end. When we begin to understand how our body manifests stress, trauma, depression, anxiety, and even unexpressed emotions, we then create a space and bandwidth in our minds to begin to heal our bodies. Healing is a decision, and I am grateful for yours. Abundant blessings, Dr. Schuyler.
To learn more about the work Dr. Schuyler is doing, please visit drschuyler.net. That's drschuyler.net. And remember to subscribe to this podcast wherever you like to listen.
Produced by Audavita Studios. Connect your voice to the world.